Can you describe to me a little bit about Chet's studio?
He had, a traditional one-story house out in the suburbs with a basement in it, and with a basement garage. And you come in off the garage right into the studio. And the studio itself, you'd come into there, I was probably 15 by 20, 21 feet, something like that. The control room was about 10 feet by about 18 feet, something like that, sitting perpendicular actually to the recording room with a glass to the side of the console.
Okay.
And it was typical 60s, 70s studio motif. The control room burlap. These it was actually ugly. I mean, it was this burnt orange and then beige striped burlap panels on the wall. Back, behind it was fiberglass for deadening. And a Neotech console was in there. The original machine was an MCI 24 track, and we changed that out later on, put an Otari in. But very little outboard gear, a couple of compressors, reverb chambers. It wasn't any esoteric stuff in it. Chet was a bit of a miser. He just watched his money.
Right.
And he did not spend extravagantly on equipment. He got what he needed, and that was about it.
Do you remember when you actually first met Lenny? Was it in that studio, or had you heard of him or heard him at another time previously?
I'd worked with Paul Yandel quite a bit also in the studio,
Mm.
and Paul would have made mention of it. I really wasn't familiar with Lenny's rep or his style or anything.
Right.
And I actually first met him at Chet because whenever Lenny came in town, he would stay with Chet. So yeah, Chet had called me and said, "Yeah, we're going to work on this project with Lenny Breau." I mean,
Did they have the stuff worked out beforehand, or was it just kind of them playing in the studio?
when Chet called me, there was nothing worked out in there. I mean, it was shooting from the hip when they would sit down and start playing. Chet obviously had some ideas and some directions to go because Lenny, you had to put some reins on, and Chet got a little frustrated, working with him simply because Chet is very calculated in his working style, and he knows where he's going, how he's going to get there, and what it's going to take to get there. Lenny sits down, and when he gets driving down the road, he doesn't have a clue where he's going, and he just where he winds up is where he winds up. So the two styles, their working styles, were really dramatically different. Chet had a little bit of trouble working with that kind of style, simply because you never knew where Lenny was going to go, and he never would play the same thing twice. It always made him, cause the left turn or something,
Right.
but when he was not expecting it. But Chet would adapt. I mean, because he was capable of doing that. But you could see the expressions on his face when Lenny would do something like, "Holy shit, where'd he go? Where'd he get that one?" Yes, it frustrated Chet a little bit, simply because he was so organized, always knew where he was going. He was such a meticulous worker in the studio. He probably thought about what he was going to play 3 days before he was going to play it. But not Lenny.
Mm-hmm. Seat of the pants. So would Chet say to Lenny, "Listen, Lenny, we gotta rein this in a little bit. Let's do that again and a little bit
Oh
more."
yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. I mean, in Chet's real diplomatic way,
Right.
uh, and try to shape and guide him, where we're going here,
Mm-hmm.
and try to keep him up on the track a little bit.
Right.
But I mean that was Chet as a producer, and that's what he was doing. but it was fun to watch them, sit there and play, because they would be just the other side of the glass from me, just sitting in two chairs with two mics, and that was it. And just to sit there and watch them play off each other, you could see facial expressions. Even Lenny even surprised himself several times. You see, they'd be playing along, and a grin. You'd see this big grin come up, because he was going down a road that he hadn't gone before.